And hello, everyone. Welcome. I am Ann Thompson, the president of the WICT Washington DC Baltimore Chapter, and this is episode 11 of WICT Wednesdays. And today I have two guests. First, for me, I will be talking to Ken Quaglio and Anne-Marie Evans of Celerity. Ken is the CEO of Celerity, leading a global team of experts focused on helping organizations thrive in a future environment of accelerating pace and uncertainty. Anne-Marie serves as the CFO for Celerity and is part of the global CFO team, working with the group on strategic and operations topics across multiple geographies. And today is actually part one of a two-part subject. We will be talking about keeping our businesses thriving, and we will be focusing on employee engagement, and specifically the impacts of the pandemic and being remote and everything that Celerity does really, really well. And a disclaimer, I do work for Celerity, so I'm very familiar about how engaged we are as employees. So Celerity already had a very strong company value system prior to the pandemic and really good employee engagement. Our values of perseverance, empathy, courageous authenticity, intentional action, and synchronicity really inform how the company interacts with its employees and its clients. So either Ken or Anne-Marie, can you tell me a little bit about why having such a strong value system is central to how we do business?
Sure. I'll start and then I'll hand it over to Anne-Marie. So we're in the services business. Our job is to serve clients, and having a value system that guides us and helps us make sure that the way that we do that is something that is equally important to the how that we do that. So we're very fortunate in the five values that you mentioned. We had started down this path about a year before COVID hit and really asked the question about who are we and how do we operate as a team and what are the things that we hold as important. So we had been having a lot of conversations about it. And, I watched last week's interview with Julie Dixon, and Julie was saying she was talking about plays and the arts and the response to COVID-19. And she said something that really resonated with me. She didn't use these words, I'm paraphrasing, but when you go to the theater or you go to a performance, it's a collective experience. And now we're really in a situation where we're all having personal experiences. And I think this is where values really come in a collective experience where we can hold each other accountable for actions. There's sort of a way that we can reinforce those values. But when you take away that collective experience and you have these personal experiences, and we're working from home now, I think if the values are strong and real, one of our values is perseverance. They sustain the relationship, they sustain the company, they sustain the way that we work, whether we're together or apart. And I think we were very fortunate to start that conversation, and it's really helped us through the shift to this work from home and this isolation that we're all experiencing. Anne-Marie?
Yeah, I think you talked about a lot of things that I would say. I think the thing that I really like about our values is we didn't just come out and say, hey, here are our values, this is what we're going to do. We took the time to understand with our employees and our leadership teams, like, who are we today, kind of who do we want to be? And it was a long process. And I think we're seeing the benefit of that now, because it truly was who we are and kind of those guideposts we were living already. It was just putting words to it, and it's allowed us to kind of persevere through tough times. And then I think even in regular times, the really cool piece about it, and my favorites, if you can have favorite values, are perseverance, empathy, and courageous authenticity. So in our business, as consultants, it's really important to have engaged employees, because as Ken mentioned, we're in the services industry, right? So we've got to have those engaged employees to serve our client and have that two-way mutual value. And so I think our values allow us to listen and understand, and then move forward and take action, which is exactly kind of our approach to this whole COVID scenario, is to listen, understand what's going on, and then respond. So.
Excellent. One thing that I have noticed, since it's been a long time since I've worked at a company that has really a mix of seasoned and newer, folks newer to their careers, And in this situation, I would expect that there are many people that work at the company that just have not ever had been able to have the experience of working remotely. And just, it's not something that they've ever, it's not an established part of their work experience. So, and there's challenges that come with that if you've never done with it. So I'm wondering, has there been a conscious effort to ensure that all employees remain engaged while working from home? And has there been a different approach based on each employee set?
Anne-Marie, why don't you open up?
Yep. Yes. So there's definitely been a conscious effort to keep employees engaged, whether that's a weekly survey to touch pulse on how people are feeling. Are we meeting their basic day-to-day needs? So can they actually log on and do their work, right? Really understanding, again, listening to our employees and how they're feeling, ideating among the management team about what we can do to stay connected based on what we're hearing. And I think, variety is the spice of life. I think that's a saying that you hear, and we've seen by trying lots of different things that people have responded, which has allowed us to continue with that. And even thinking forward, it's, we're humans, we're not just workers. And we kind of took that approach to say, let's just not offer work-related content, but let's take that time that you don't get by being in the office to walk down the hall and chat with somebody about their weekend or what their latest, kind of home project is. And we took that and started to put, webinars on where Ken's, teaching us how to make pasta, which he might have just told you when you were walking in the office, and you don't get that experience anymore. And when I think we saw positive results, it was like, okay, let's keep this going. We've got something here.
Yeah, and I think this is sort of like, all the articles you're reading now about leadership in time of crisis and, shifting to work from home. I feel very strongly that if the values are solid and the inherent trust in the company is there, it's just a shift. It's not a dramatic change. And so for us, all the conversations, all the engagements, created an environment where, we don't have to do what some companies are doing, where you got to do daily check-ins and, we're measuring productivity. We really don't care when or where you do your work or what hours you do it. And we never have. And hopefully we never will. We just care about, are you meeting your commitments to your clients, your commitments to your peers, your commitments to your family? We've opened up the aperture and said, it's not just about work, it's about life. This is very different. At first, everyone thought this work from home thing is kind of cool. Then the reality is, if you really practice the empathy that we preach, you got kids running around the house if you got kids, or you're in a 2-bedroom place and your spouse is working and you're in one bedroom and he or she's in the other bedroom, or your partner's in the other bedroom. The coolness wears off pretty quickly and you realize this is really kind of hard and it doesn't really work for everybody, and everybody's got a different need. So, what we really try to do is just listen to what is working, what's not working, be flexible. People, you got to come to work every day with the inherent belief that people wake up and intend to do good, not I'm trying to screw the company or screw my clients or anything else. They come to work with the intent to do good things, and our job is to give them the environment to do good things. So we just have to listen to how we can help them with that, mostly.
Yeah, and you do. It's been a great experience for me, certainly. So one of the things that I've been amazed at is, since the pandemic has hit, there's been a generous range of programs that has been put forth for employees. And when I say generous, this is something of an understatement. So I've cataloged 4 different types of programs that have been put together. There have been lunch and learns, like how to interview like a journalist. There have been continuing education programs like structured thinking and writing. There have been employee perks. There's a $100 dinner on Celerity credit, and just fun is the last category. So Ken did a how to make pasta tutorial. We did bingo, a total of 18 overall during this time period. So what was the motivation for such a diverse range of programs?
Yeah, I think, it was kind of, the way I look at it is, as we started to get into it, it was like, okay, what would we normally be doing? I mean, if we go back even to last year, we had this whole 2020 plan. We were focused on education and growth for our employees and engagement already. It wasn't like this just popped up as a result of COVID. It was already something on our radar. We had plans, and it forced us to say, okay, we still want to do these things, but now we're going to do them differently. And I think and as we started to go through it, so that took care of the educational piece, the dinner at Celerity, the fitness classes, those are things that we would usually do. We might have an in-office happy hour. We offered a fitness class already twice a week. So it was like, how do we keep doing the things that we know are popular, that are engaging our employees, but now we're doing them a little bit differently. And in some ways we saw that it actually forced us to deal with stuff that we didn't know how to handle before. Like, how do we deal with satellite offices or the remote worker in North Dakota and get them engaged? And now we're all in this level playing field. And again, kind of keeping up with our plans that were really well thought out as far as what do we want to accomplish in 2020? What do we want for our people, for our clients? And then just saying, okay, we can still do these things, just doing them a little bit differently. And so I think that's why you saw such a wide range. And again, back to Ken's point, it's all about people and looking at them not just as your workers, but as whole people, and they have a variety of needs. And we can help them with that. And I think then that's where you see the trust and the relationship really start to form.
We've tried to create virtual connectedness. I'm a firm believer that cultures are one of the things that differentiate good companies from bad companies. Strategies are wonderful, but as the saying goes, culture eats strategy for lunch. So how do you sustain a culture when people aren't together? How do you make sure that people still feel connected to their peers when you can't be together? So we really try to do this virtual connectedness and give people a forum for things that help educate them and improve their skills, have fun, just crazy things that we've been doing, some financial things to make it easier. But we also recognize that some people are struggling. So we've opened up channels for counseling and other services, and frankly, beyond COVID, now layer in what's going on socially within the United States right now. And it's another factor that you just can't ignore. And the fact that we can't have a hallway conversation about it, makes it even more difficult. So how do you create that virtual connectedness and deal with the hard issues that people are thinking about, serve our clients, because that's how we make money and we're able to sustain everybody. Let's not forget that. And at the end of the day, also bring some of these social issues into the workplace that are impacting our people. You can't just ignore it. So it's not easy, but it's what we have to figure out a way to do. And I won't for a second say we're great at it, but we are a learning organization, and we'll try things. And if it works, great. And if it doesn't, all right, we'll try something else.
Excellent. So Anne-Marie, my next question is for you specifically. It felt like we were able to transition to work from home pretty seamlessly. And we even implemented Slack in the middle of it, but was that a valid understanding, or was it perhaps not it maybe didn't go as smoothly as I felt it did from my perspective?
Well, thank you for that. That makes me feel good. Yeah, so actually, I think we were able to transition so smoothly because this is really the result of probably a 2-year effort to make sure we're modernizing our technology. We're built for kind of a flexible, responsive enterprise that we preach to our clients. And I credit a lot of that to Ken. When he came on board, he challenged us to be better, to, hey, if we're going to sell to our clients that they need to be able to be flexible, responsive, modernize their technology, et cetera, we need to do that as well. And so, from being fully on cloud applications to laptop refreshes to upgrading our IT security, by the time COVID happened, we had all those kind of pieces you probably need in place, and it was very smooth for the most part. Plus, I think we have that kind of growth mindset of, okay, how are we going to handle this differently? IT used to procure equipment and do this. Now maybe we self-source and there's an expense code. So just that constant thinking, listening, and kind of responding, again, really helped us. And then I think Two, we have engaged employees who want the company to be the best that they can. And so then they provide feedback and they see it being implemented. They want to help. Slack was actually implemented by not only the IT team, but we had a consultant and someone on the support staff really PM and push that project forward. It was something they felt passionate about. We accelerated it because of COVID, because we wanted to have that common chat tool, kind of the channel, but the bones were already there in place, which really allowed it to be smooth. And I'm thankful that Ken pushed me all those years ago to really get IT where it needed to be, so that we were not the cobbler's kids wear no shoes. We can say that we're not we're not that at Celerity.
Excellent. Yeah. So Ken, my last question is for you, and then I'm going to turn it over to folks who want to ask questions. So regular communication really was already a part of your leadership style. We have a monthly newsletter that you send out. You always mark a holiday or important event with a personal note to all employees. Since we've been working from home, you've even increased that to a weekly update. So I'm wondering, what opportunities has this experience given you for you to think about how we engage with our employees post-COVID?
So one of the things that occurred to me that I believed pre-COVID, and it was really confirmed in the age of COVID, for lack of a better term, is we are less and less able to say certain statements about the future with certainty. We live in a world where, if someone were to say, well, what's August going to be like? I have no freaking idea what August is going to be like. Are we going to have another spike? Is it going to be a resurgence? I don't know. So in times of unknown, people look for something they can cling on to. And, simple things like saying, I don't know what's going to happen, but this is what we're doing today. And whatever does happen, we're taking actions that will enable us to respond as well as possible. But I can't say to you, everything's going to be all right in Q3. The business is going to bounce back in Q4. We're never, ever going to do layoffs, because those are the things people want to hear. Am I safe? Is my job safe? Is my family safe? And the reality is, any leader who says, don't worry about those things, is lying to everybody. So what we've tried to do is say, we're taking every action. You have a right to know where we are. We'll keep you updated on where the business is. We will make sure that you feel like you have enough answers to make good decisions, but we'll be honest with you along the way. The reason I've increased the frequency is because I think people are confronted with a situation that most of us have never experienced before. So the level of uncertainty and fear has increased. And I think what we want to do is at least remove the job part of that fear. If you're worried about your kids, your parents getting COVID, we'll help as best we can with that. But let's take the job side off of it by telling you what's going on, what we're doing about it, exactly where we are, and giving you a sense of continuity with the business and take that stress off of you. So that, I think the only way to do that is frequent communications and sharing facts and data and saying what you don't know, honestly.
Yeah, I think it's been very effective. So I'm going to now turn it over to our other attendees. Does anybody have any questions for Ken or Anne-Marie?
And I'll jump in with a question, if I may. And Ken and Anne-Marie, first of all, thank you and congratulations on really some exemplary best practices that you've shared with us. I appreciate that. So Ken, you were gracious enough really to raise the issue, of course, that has become layered over the workforce and the marketplace in the last couple of weeks, and that's social and racial justice, which I think has made so many of us in a way uncomfortable, a little bit uncertain, and certainly it's testing our companies and our organizations. I wondered if you could reflect, both of you really, reflect a little bit more on what impact that's had on Celerity, and will it in fact change the way that you look at the world or the way that you operate?
Yeah, I'll open up and then I'll turn it over to Anne-Marie. So we were very clear. We communicated to our people openly that what is going on in the world is inconsistent with our values, number one. Number two, we just simply as a company cannot tolerate racial, religious, gender, any sort of discrimination or hate speech or activities. And if we see that within the company, we all have an obligation to say something, and then you have the right to know that your company will do something about that. So we made that very clear to all our employees. We've gone public with a couple of statements around our commitment. And the first thing that I would say to everyone is, I am a white male. I am not for an instant going to say what it's like to be a Black man in America, or a woman in the workforce, or a person of color, or an immigrant, or anything else. And I think all of us need to acknowledge that we come at every situation based on our experiences and our own background. So step one is to be open to understanding, to recognize that you can't possibly understand the experiences that others have because you've never lived them and you've never been in those conditions. I am not afraid when a police officer stops me. I walk through homes all the time that are under construction without a second thought. So our first statement is, you have to be able to see that change is necessary. You have to be willing to make the change, and then we can move to something bigger. We all will change. We've implemented unconscious bias training because I fundamentally believe that that's where it starts. We all bring to our clients, to our interactions, to people, we all bring a bias to every relationship that we have. And if you can first accept that you have that bias, and two, recognize how that bias influences your reaction to that relationship, that's step one. So, I thank you for asking the question, because for us, it's going to be a journey. We are not where we want to be. We're 25% diverse. We don't nearly have enough people of color. We don't nearly have enough women. Can we fix that as Celerity? We can start, and we can do what we can do and then continue to expand. But we first have to accept that we can be better. We should be better. We will be better.
Yeah, I think I would echo Ken's comment in that, we always kind of knew, hey, we need to be better in this area, but we weren't actively going out and saying, okay, we're going to implement unconscious bias training. It's things that came up in conversations about roadmaps, things that we wanted to do, but we weren't doing it. And so when we had this conversation about what's our statement going to be to our employees and the market and our clients, it was, we know these things are wrong and we know we can be better. We wouldn't be authentic if we were saying, oh, yay, look at us, right? We're good people. That's ingrained in our values. And of course, all of those things are unacceptable. But like I think many persons in America, we weren't actively doing the things that we could do. We could be better. And so now I think we're more focused on that. And we're not trying to solve the problems ourselves as the people that aren't being represented. We're going to our employees to say, this is important to us, but we don't have all of the answers. And so we want to listen and then take real action that's going to make an impact to you so that we can make a difference and work towards that. I know I've done that in my personal life, and that's kind of our approach at Celerity as well.
Well, thank you. I wish you the best on all that. And I should have said right at the top, Anne may be a little conflicted as she has the great opportunity to work with you guys. But on behalf of our WICT chapter, we deeply appreciate your support and the opportunity that you are sharing Anne with us. Provided great leadership to our chapter so far this year. So thank you for that. And I want to add, Anne-Marie, as a veteran of a Slack implementation going back a couple of years for a small association with a little under 100 employees, there was nothing easy about it. But guess what? We hit work from home, and that was the quickest way after a couple of years to implement Slack once everyone began to realize what a great tool it is from the home environment for whatever it's worth.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Ken or Anne-Marie? And thank you, Rob.
I want to go back to Rob's question, if I may, real quick. So we implemented a tool called Tiny Pulse about 2.5 years ago, and Tiny Pulse just sends out a pulse question every Wednesday. There's a series of topics, but the questions are aligned to sort of measure employee engagement and see what the underlying drivers are behind those areas of engagement. So we were already doing those things, and it also has an anonymous feedback channel where people can give us feedback and suggestions. And the reason I bring that up is, and I feel strongly about this, we got some feedback that, this sudden wokeness is not real. And, and I've thought a lot about that since I read the suggestion that came back. And I just have a simple answer is it better that we don't do anything? Call it whatever the hell you want. I don't care. But the fact that we're talking about it, however we got here, is long overdue. So, you're always going to have people within every organization that respond well to work from home, respond well to the regular communications. And then you're going to have others that don't respond as well. And that's okay too. I want to hear about it. But I also want to make sure that we don't avoid things because they're hard things. I think it's a responsibility for businesses to start the change. Most change actually in society has to be at the business level. If we don't promote and treat and pay women fairly, it's not going to happen at the societal level. If we don't do that with race, people of color, it's not going to happen at the societal level. So it's our job as business people to make sure that it starts with us and it becomes embedded in society. And it's no longer a conversation we have to have. It's just the way things are.
Well, Ken, I think you've probably discovered, or at least you're expressing one of the most salient points, right? Because so I should say you and I share the same outlook. I'm middle-aged white male as well, and I certainly reinforce and sympathize with all of your comments at the top in terms of our ability to understand what's going on. Certainly, it's hard to do it in the sense of first person. But to your point, the greatest criticisms that I've seen so far have been of companies who are essentially talking the talk but not walking the walk, right?
Right.
It almost, there was such a rush, and there still is to this day. I got 2 or 3 more statements in my email today from large companies, large corporations. Statements are fine, but I think we'd probably all be in a lot better shape if we just kind of shut up for a while and try to implement some of the practices you're talking about.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Exactly.
Excellent. Anything else for our guests? All right, then I want to thank you, Ken and Anne-Marie, for joining me today. This is a great conversation. And for everyone else and you both, have a great rest of your Wednesday.
Thank you for sharing your time.
Thank you.